So, I kind of want to, go over. It was real nice, talking to you.
You may be looking at me. Yeah, I think you're looking at me on my cell phone,
Yeah, I think it looks like it. Yeah.
possibly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Can you see yourself now?
Yeah, I can see myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're looking at me with my phone
Okay.
camera for, and I on my it's weird on my phone I just have a little a logo of a kind of a head and shoulders of a person, but that not specifically anything. Anyway,
Oh,
here we go. So
yeah, yeah,
you had a
yeah. Oh, I was saying I had a wonderful time, talking to you. It's so nice, to reconnect after all these years. Because, to be honest, you're a real integral part of my life, You know, we,
Oh, right. I understand what you mean, and I've been sort of remiss in my duties as a friend, But I've had my own life, and I a little bit narcissistic, I guess, and just you know. Anyway, here we are. So
yeah,
let's
yeah,
get
here
to
we
it.
are.
I've
Yeah.
got my phone. I've got my phone propped up, so I think you can get my image. I see little me. So and I'm seeing you. So all good, I guess.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
to go.
all good, yeah. So yeah, so I kind of want to kind of go over the events, when we're in France, and then our journeys, from France to India, uh, and so let's start, with you. So you land, in Paris, and you wanted to go surfing in Biarritz. So tell that story of how you got.
I was going to Biarritz, but I had an idea to stop in Paris and see the Eiffel Tower, and I even had a youth hostel lined up for, and I'd rent it, or I didn't pay rent, but I thought I was going to be able to stay there for a week. And I got there, I rode a taxi from the airport. It cost a small fortune because it's like an hour drive or something to get to the hostel, and then they didn't have any accommodation. So I just went to the train station and got on the train and went overnight to Biarritz.
Mhm.
And boy, it was great. I landed there and I started surfing in the beach down where all the tourists were, and the lifeguards kicked me out. They took my board at one point, and they wouldn't give it back until the end of the afternoon. And I trolled around for a couple days, and I found the car, and that was my plan, was to buy a car. And I thought I had money for everything, money for the accommodations, but ended up the guy with the car. I told him, where can I stay? I can't find any place. And he said, well, I've got a tent. And so that's what I remember. The guy with the car came up with the tent, and so I think I had already seen the trailer park, and I thought, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
And I guess you reminded me that we didn't meet up right away. It was only after probably I'd been there a couple of weeks, I guess. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
And I seem to remember. I think you were with Mike and Polly already at that point. Remember Mike and Polly?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Like
yeah.
this
I remember
Laguna
that.
Beach crowd, right? I think they had already met you in the trailer park. They were in the trailer park too, I think.
Yeah, 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 they
I'm
were.
not sure. I'm pretty sure they were there.
Uh-huh.
And so, we kind of all became friends, I guess.
Gosh,
And then, well, and especially, I don't know if it was somebody's looking for a place, or I don't know. But yeah, I remember those were your circumstances, that you were also looking for a place to stay, I guess, huh?
yeah, it was. I was staying across the street in the forest, and when I told you, I was across the street, you said, "Hey, well, yeah, I
You
got
were
room."
living in the forest.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
were living.
Uh,
Wow.
so when you told me about that, and I saw the campgrounds, because I saw the campgrounds before, and go, "Hey, wow, yeah, yeah." Well, I'll take you up on that offer. Well, what that
Yeah.
was like first class camping, you know, in terms,
Oh, it was.
gosh, you know,
Yeah.
and we were so close to La Bar,
I
you
know.
know.
I was just gonna say, if you're a surfer, that's all it matters is being right there.
Uh-huh.
And it's so much better. I mean, it's still the same principle is the same. Even now, if I had a choice between a junk house right on the beach or some, $500,000, $1 million mansion up on the hill, hey, I want to be by the beach.
Yeah,
I don't care.
exactly. Yeah.
I want to hear the waves. I want to hear the night, the waves in the nighttime, and just
Uh-huh.
it flows through my blood, kind of, in a way.
Yeah.
You were the same, right? You grew up in Newport Beach, and you were near the surf, right? That's what
Yeah.
got
Well,
you into the.
yeah. I was probably about a mile and a half away. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So you just get sucked into it with all your friends,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what happened. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's good. Anyway, so yeah, it was a great, great place.
And
I
I
still
remember.
remember driving up to Bayonne or whatever and picking grapes for 3 days,
Oh
and
yeah.
then
Oh yeah.
remember,
That. Uh-huh.
you don't remember that? That was, oh, and then we crashed the car on the way. I mean, I crashed it. I was trying to pass
Oh
some big
yeah.
truck or something, get up enough RPMs, and the
Uh,
opposing traffic drove me off into the. I
uh-huh.
don't know. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember we had someone help us pick up the car and put it
Right,
on.
yeah, they just basically, yeah, about three other guys stopped and they just basically we all did, picked the car up out of the ditch and put it back on the road.
Yeah.
And then the axle was broken. I didn't realize it at the time, but when I think it was the rear axle of the car was broke. And after that, the car had a little wobble to it. And we
Uh-huh.
drove all the way to Greece with the car with the broken axle.
You know,
And
I never realized that. Oh wow.
yeah, no,
Uh-huh.
I got about $50 for the car because it was in crappy condition. I guess it was, you know what? It was the guy who bought it who had a mechanic check it out, and he said, "Hey, your axle is broken." And so, I mean, I'm just putting two and two together that, oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
that had to be the accident.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, and then the grapes of wrath. Boy, that was funny.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
who was it? Who was the New York guy? The New York guy. He was can't think of his name right offhand, but he was so into it, he really wanted to stay, and he did. He stayed for 10 days or something. Who's that guy?
oh
Somebody did.
yeah, yeah. I forgot what his name
Maybe
was.
I'm getting confused now. I think no, but the guy we ended up when we arrived in New Delhi, there was another guy with us, and he went to Hardwar, right?
Was that
The
that was in Charlie, was it? Charlie was
Charlie, yeah, from
Charlie.
New York, right?
Yeah, yeah. I thought Charlie was from
Well, I
Hawaii.
guess.
Charlie Krishner.
Oh no, different
That's a
Charlie. There
different
was
one.
a guy from New
Oh yeah, there was a guy.
and I'm trying
Oh, oh yeah.
to maybe he just came down. The guys from New York, right, who were there, came to see Guru Maharaji, basically.
Uh-huh.
And maybe he was with them. But he had a surfboard. I don't know. I'm thinking there was a guy, another fellow another lost traveler, or
Yeah.
but a surfer guy.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, whatever. What are your standout memories from that time? That before we got to India, what were
Well,
you?
before I loved that bakery. You know that.
Oh, right.
Oh my God.
That's yeah.
In the middle of nowhere. Especially for the first time. And I remember in that bakery that they had that wheel. So they had a stream that went inside the bakery and spun the wheel. That was incredible. You remember that? They actually had a stream inside the bakery which went through, and then they had that paddle wheel which crushed the wheat. I'm not.
Oh, right. Yeah. I don't know. I remember walking around that place and just being, all the gorgeous food. I also, if I think of what's the best food in the world, what would you really like to eat, or something, and then France always comes to not mind, and in particular that bakery comes to mind. And I think, boy, that's got to be the best bread
Uh-huh.
that's could ever be made. I mean, and it was a wonder because, if you buy bread in the grocery store, it's just bland and kind of tasteless mostly,
Yeah, yeah.
But boy, that bread, that just, it just was packed full of flavor, each bite. And
Uh-huh.
I've always been kind of particular about when I make sandwiches and stuff, about the quality of the bread. It makes or breaks a sandwich for
Yeah,
sure,
yeah, yeah, it does.
Anyway.
And you remember
I
that?
think that's why I don't really have a weight problem. I've been prone to eat sandwiches all my life,
Uh-huh. And there's that
for
one
modesty.
surfing restaurant. Remember that one surfing restaurant we would see at times? We would see Mickey Dore there. There was one. They had incredible omelets there. I remember, and they had ratatouille, which was one of my favorite dishes. That was it.
Really, Mickey Dora was in France with us at the same time, you mean?
Yeah, at the same time. Yeah, and a few times he came. Once we went to a surfing movie. What was that
Uh,
guy? Epson. Uh, he did the Cosmic Children. And he was there at that time with Brad McCall, who's a famous surfer, and went to
yeah, I
his
remember
school.
I remember seeing Brad surfing in Spain when we were there,
Yeah.
And I actually I used to surf in surfing contests, 14 and under. And Brad McCall was one of the hotties. So he was always in the same. I mean, I would be sitting down by the time they got to the finals, but he was always in it. And what was his name? Raw Farnes,
Oh, Ralph
the
Bonet. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
those two guys, they were the best,
Uh-huh.
really.
I met
For
Ralph.
for the kids. And
Was that?
then I was in Long Beach Surf Club, and those guys were Newport Beach Surfing Association, and there was always kind of a bit of they were competitive, very competitive.
Uh-huh.
The Long Beach Surf Club was all the harbor guys, harbor surfboards,
Oh, like
right?
Chu.
And
What was his name? Rich Chu, right?
yeah, yeah,
And Rich
he's still
Chu.
around, I think. I'm pretty sure he's still kicking,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Very and still on Seal Beach, actually. I'm pretty sure he's a fireman.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
his background.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I still remember that Choo Choo's Island Tinies was the headline in Surfer magazine, and they had a big, like, 9 pages of him surfing at Pupakea, in Hawaii, which is
Oh,
it's a small wave, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And And I used to always look at Richard Chu as, he's great in small surf. He's kind of the surfer that I became. I never could surf in big waves, but little waves, up to 5 feet or so. Hey,
Uh-huh.
I'm ready to give it all I got. But I think Richard Chu was not as good as some of the others. Fuck, I still remember watching. Oh, what's his name? Anyway, doesn't
David
matter.
Nuuya.
I was. What's
David
that?
Nuuya.
Oh,
David.
David Nueva. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. He was always surfing at Huntington Beach Pier. That was his spot. And then he'd surf at Huntington Cliffs sometimes. So I'd see him there all the time. And he used to come to the beach. He had a Porsche and he had surfboard racks on it. He had
Uh-huh.
his little Porsche sports car with surfboard racks. And he's I think he's one of the best surfers I've ever seen. I mean, for my mind, that's what surfing is all about. Of course, that was when no, boys were boys and men were men, and hanging tin was what it was all about, kind of.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was a different era with longboards, and there's nose rider bottoms and stuff. But anyway, yeah, good old days, good
Uh-huh.
old memories.
Yeah.
Share them around.
Uh-huh. Then I remember we surfed a spot called what was that? La Fontaine. Remember La Fontaine? It was a right point break. Then
Yeah, it was about like 10 clicks north of Le Bar or something. We used to
yeah, yeah,
drive up there,
yeah.
and it was a wicked wave. It was like half of the waves it was breaking too fast. You couldn't keep up with it. Keep up with the right curl. I remember it was kind of a hairy wave for me. And the wave when we surfed there was a little bit bigger. I kind of remember it being, 5, 6 foot plus
Uh-huh.
and being a little bit hairy for me. Of course, after Hawaii, it all seems tame, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Then we surfed Goodery. That's another one. Goodery broke a long ways out. I think probably about at least a quarter mile out there. La Fontaine only broke about a
That was
100.
in Spain, right?
No, no.
The,
Goodery
the
is near La Fontaine, probably about 2 kilometers away. It was
okay.
another, it was a right point, but it was a reef break. Uh, I remember one day we surfed it. It was huge. I had the wrong board out. My board was 6 foot, and I needed someone like yours at least 7 foot to surf it right.
Yeah.
And there's a break inside Spain. Remember, right on the border, there's a wave that broke
Right.
inside that harbor. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. I still remember when we paddled out. Brad McCall was out there, and I still remember him doing this beautiful, backside turn into a right breaking wave. And he kind of goes left and then right, and then right at the right time he does this beautiful turn. It just I remember after that, when I would try and surf lefts, going with my back to the wave, I always would try and do it the way Brad does it, or was doing the way I saw him do it there. Actually,
Uh,
this beautiful, graceful surfer. I wonder what he's doing nowadays. Anyway, do you have any idea, Brad McCall?
I heard. I think Brad McCall is a minister in San Diego. That's the last I heard. Because Brad, I went to high school with Brad. Uh,
Yeah,
so he was a
yeah, he was our age, for sure.
yeah, he was our age, and he had a guy named Mark. Oh, not I forgot what his last name is, but he lived in right across the street from the river jetties. So
Yeah,
we had a bunch of the same friends. I wouldn't consider Brad a friend, but more of a acquaintance. We played basketball
sure.
together, during like recess in high school.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, wow.
he was a pretty good
Yeah,
athlete. He was even pretty good at basketball. He was on the basketball team.
yeah.
Yeah, and so then I remembered, going on our journeys, with your car, So I think we went through Paris, and then we went to Venice. We spent about a few days in Venice because I had a high school friend who was an exchange student. So you remember we stayed at his house for a few days. I don't know if you remember that. Okay. Hello? Hello? Oh, no
And the
problem.
picture, get the picture back. There you go.
Perfect. So,
Okay.
so we're talking about Venice. So do you remember being in Venice? We spent
Vaguely, yeah, but I do. I remember we did stay overnight. One night or 2 nights, was it?
I think it was the most was 2 nights. Yeah, 2 nights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. and then we drove to Greece. Oh, actually, and we drove through Yugoslavia, which was Croatia. You remember
Right.
that? Yeah. That
Right, right.
that
Yeah,
was
and Serbia and all that.
uh-huh.
I was just saying when the sound cut out about it took us about 5 days, I think, the whole journey, the whole drive all the way to Athens, and I was remarkable. I remember we were driving through Yugoslavia, wherever it was, um, and in the middle of the night, kind of, it was all dark. There were no road lights, and I drove off the road. I drove into some, I think it was like an off ramp or some, or construction area or something, and I didn't realize that the actual road there was a turn, and I just went straight, and then suddenly we're bouncing on dirt, and do you remember that? Anyway, it was quite a trip,
Yeah,
indeed.
you remember that the people weren't very friendly because the government didn't want them to talk to foreigners. I don't know if you remember that. They were kind of real gun shy when we came into these.
Say that again. It kind of broke up there.
Yep.
You kind of broke up on me. What were you saying?
I was saying that the people were kind of gun shy, in terms of, because the government had a law where you couldn't talk to foreigners back then.
This was in where? In Greece?
In Yugoslavia, because at
okay.
that time Yugoslavia was a communist country.
Yeah, right.
Uh-huh.
I remember there was impressive security at the border from Yugoslavia to Greece. There seemed to be a lot of tension at that border when we entered into Greece.
Yeah.
Exiting Yugoslavia.
Uh-huh.
And I thought this isn't this isn't Kansas anymore. I remember thinking that.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, but you know all about Kansas. Is it a safe place to live, huh?
Yeah, Kansas. Yes. Yeah, you're right. So
isn't that where the Wizard of Oz? Isn't that where the Wizard of Oz was? Dorothy was from Kansas.
Yeah, Dorothy was from Kansas. Yep. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So I guess we spent about a week in Athens, and then we took a plane.
Yeah.
Then we take a plane from Athens then to Istanbul, right?
Right. Yeah, I remember the plane ticket cost about $15. And I remember we were sleeping outside the Acropolis. There were a lot of sort of hippie backpacker types that were sleeping in sleeping bags with us, at the Acropolis. You remember?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I look back now and I was sleeping there, and people they don't want to believe it. I mean, it's like. It's not that way anymore, obviously, but those were the good old days, I guess.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Our kids will never know about that, those days.
Yeah, exactly.
When wild hippies ran free.
Uh-huh. So then, so we went to then Istanbul. We stayed I think about a week there.
In Istanbul?
Yeah.
No way. I think we got on the train right away. We went to the bazaar. Like there was a big. I think we went to some sort of market, and then you know what we stayed in. Yeah, but no, we got on the train right away. But then we laid over in Ankara. And we were in Ankara for 3 or 4 or 5 days maybe, and we were trying to get all our visas lined up in Turkey, right? In Ankara, the capital city. Yeah. But we weren't. I don't think we stayed in Istanbul that long. I think we just got right on the journey. That's kind of what I don't know. I mean, my memories are a bit sketchy, obviously.
And then Ankara was where we found out the border was closed between Turkey and Iran for the 1000th anniversary of Persia. Do you remember that? So that was where
Hey, hold on, my computer.
oh,
Sorry. Okay, I'm back.
okay.
I can't hear, man.
Oh, you can't, can you hear me?
What is that screechy noise?
Maybe you have two on it. I don't know. Huh.
Feedback with the computer, and I don't know. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
so here we are. No picture for the moment, but yeah, we went to Ankara and we spent several days there. I remember, and then back on the train after we got our visas straightened out. But
Yeah.
we went to some market, like there was a night market where in Istanbul. It was incredible. They had silver certificate, U.S. dollars with silver, like so guaranteed to pay in silver or whatever. I don't know. We were looking at some of those and stuff.
Uh-huh. And I remember that the border was closed. You remember that? So that's why we had to stay there.
Yeah, we couldn't go through Iraq because of who was the vice president, Nixon's vice president at the time. Spiro Agnew he had coincidentally was visiting Iraq at that time or something, and there was all paranoid throughout the region, I guess, and we had to travel through Iran because the going through Iraq was just impossible or something.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Huh.
What border you're talking about? The border where that was closed?
Oh, the border between Turkey and Iran was closed because the Shah was having a 1,000-year-old celebration for the Persian Empire. So
Right, yeah.
So a friend of mine who I met in Hawaii, who worked at the observatory, was there at that celebration. So I thought.
No kidding.
Yeah. And do you remember that in Ankara when we were staying at this one guy's house, you had that Jethro Tull album. What was it called? Not Thick as a Brick. I remember you carry. I thought you.
Oh yeah, the Jethro Tull Stand Up. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember them playing that album, and then some lady knocked on the door and said, "You guys better get out of here because the police are going to raid this place because they thought we were using drugs." So do you remember that?
Right.
So we.
Not really.
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah, I do.
You know.
Uh-huh. So I remember we slept then that night in an abandoned building. Yeah. And then how about Iran? What do you remember about Iran? Oh. Oh, we're asking about what do you remember about Iran?
Yeah. I know, and I just asked you, what do you remember?
Well, I remember in Iran that this police officer, with a submachine gun, came up to us, and he said something out of the blue. He says, "You want to know what? This year I've killed on the spot about 5 or 6 of your kind." He says, if I find drugs on you, I would shoot you on the spot. Fortunately, you and I, we weren't using drugs. You know, as you said, we were probably the only hippies who who went, you know, on that journey without even using any drugs at all. So, but
Yeah.
and then I remembered that someone told the story only a week before a young Westerner girl, I think from the States, she got stoned to death because she went into a Muslim temple and she wasn't Muslim. I remember those two things. It was kind of intense back then. You know, the Iranians are highly sophisticated people, but their government wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, my old boss in San Diego, Dr. Barami, he went to medical school in Tehran, you know,
Uh-huh.
and a brilliant guy, a very brilliant guy, you know, and he's been living in San Diego for years and years, you know, dating back to when the Shah was overthrown. You know, I think is about the time that he left, got
Yeah.
out of Dodge, and came
Uh,
to San Diego. But anyway. Yeah, and I remember thinking exactly that. You know, the people are really brilliant, and it's unfortunate that their religion sort of grabbed hold of their society. Yeah, and same thing in Iraq. Iraq had, under the Shah was kind of secular, and they were doing pretty good in terms of, you know, medical knowledge and stuff. I worked with another doctor from, he went to school in Iraq, and you know, this smart people, and they're capable of understanding anything, you know, but it's just, I guess their governments are kind of out of control, you know.
yeah, exactly.
Like
So
people are talking about now, you know, in America, it could be so easy for us, for our political system to come unhinged, and for, you know, real problems to develop. And it just, you know, you look at other countries and you go, wow, glad that's not us anyway, not yet.
uh, and wasn't on that somewhere along the road on that train ride, we ran into Mike and Polly again, and
Yeah, that's right.
and Charlie Krishner. You remember Charlie? He was from Hawaii.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That was the guy. Charlie went with us to the
To Premnagar. Yeah, the ashram, and yeah, in India, in Hardwar. Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, okay. Charlie's from Hawaii. I thought he was from New York, but then
Uh,
he probably or
oh,
something.
I think he probably, you know, he grew up in New York, but then he moved to Oahu.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that'd be right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so, you know, we got after we got through the Khyber Pass, I think we got all the way to Kabul in Pakistan on a bus or something,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then we got the train, and on that train from Kabul, and we were going to Delhi, I guess, New Delhi, and that's where we met Mike and Polly. I remember, or maybe it was before that. I know we were in a. Oh no, it had to be before that because we stayed in Kabul with Mike and Polly. They were meeting their dope smoking buddies who were
Uh,
coming in with it. And we remember we went that for a couple days that we were in Kabul. We were packing hashish, or well, they were, and we sort of went. There was some place where they were playing chess, and I remember I played several games of chess with a couple of guys over in this place, and they'd be smoking hashish and playing the game of chess. And
yeah. And and that was kind of funny. You and we didn't even have a toke.
yeah, I know. It was, you know, it was an important, really a fork in the road in my life, and a great decision on my part to stop using drugs, because I would have never amounted to anything, you know. And I probably wouldn't even be alive at this point, you know.
And I remember at
But
that time you were into Baha'i, Baha'u'llah, right?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's right. I was always kind of conflicted about which sort of philosophy or system worked better for me. You know, Baha'ism or whatever, the Baha'is, which has a lot of structure, you know, a lot of idea, like this is how the world should be, kind of, you know, the world out there. Whereas, you know, at the yoga ashram, it's all about your inner self and working on, you know, from the inside and not really being so concerned about, you know, because, and it becomes obvious when you practice meditation, you start to feel the result, you know. You
Hmm.
can study the teachings of Baha'u'llah forever and really not get that kind of feeling like I don't know what exactly it is, but anyway, I'm not a Baha'i anymore. I kind of I you know what, I became too busy for meditation and too busy for any other religion or religious practice because of medical school. And
Hmm.
for me, it was an overwhelming task. I wasn't a good student at all. I was quite the opposite when I was in high school. And it was kind of fly by the seat of my pants, you know. And but I was really determined. I really believed in myself that if I, you know, I really like science and I just have to apply myself. And indeed, that you know, that hard work, stick to itiveness, you know, in the end paid off. But as I say, it didn't really give me time to live. You know, I was too overwhelmed with the career. Didn't have time for family, time to serve, you know,
Hmm.
time
Yeah.
to go into a religious meeting. Yeah, I was working on Sunday a lot of times, and so it was different, but I don't regret it. I mean, I look back and I think, wow, I was so lucky to have had the opportunity to, you know, do something like that where you know, you're helping others and you're learning about, you know, scientific truth. It's just as it's even more true to me than it always has been, even more true than religious truth,
Hmm.
because science and you can verify and measure and quantitate, you know, and it's indisputable, you know, when scientific facts become known, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like certainty in science of knowing, you know, this is true or this is reality, kind of, and start with that. Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hearing you perfect. Yep. Clear as
Okay,
clear as bell.
good.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, remember then. So then we crossed the border from you know, we went through the Khyber Pass, then we went to Lahore, and then I think Peshawar. Then we took a train to the border, and then we had to walk across. Remember the border from
Right,
Pakistan
right.
into India. Yeah. And
Yeah, yeah.
that was that was kind of like a real different. I mean, the ore. Remember, we had to cross through a jungle, and there was parrots all over. You remember those parrots? There were these. As we were walking, it was a dirt road. I remember that. So we had our backpacks on. So I think it was probably about a 2 mile journey. You know that we had to do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I remember on the train, when we got on the train in Lahore, there were a lot of Pakistani students. They were like demonstrating, you know, Crush India. They had signs and they were getting all worked up about the imminent war, which was imminent with India. Remember that? And
yeah,
then
yeah.
I always think of that. I think of that when I think of how political ideas can just brainwash young people. You know, they become overwhelmed with vim and you know, hatred or whatever it is, without really totally understanding what's going on around them. You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, young children. I mean, middle age or whatever, middle school age, and they're demonstrating for war. What would they know about war? You know, I mean, at that age, that's the thing. You know, when young people, really young people, start getting involved.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, remarkable. And then when one of our co-traveler companions, Mike and Polly's friend, remember that one guy, he had all this hashish stuffed in his canteen, you know, and the border guys caught him. He found all the hash in the canteen, and some other I don't think they found it all, but they made him. He said, go over there and empty the canteen, you know. So they didn't get arrested. I thought, do you remember that? I was thinking, gee, we're going to get arrested here, you know, because
Well,
we're traveling in this group that's got carrying drugs,
well,
and not just a little bit. They were loaded, you know.
wow, wow. Yeah, yeah. I remember, and at that border, there's that real famous lady. She was almost like a psychic narcotic that she could sniff any kind of drugs anywhere. I don't. So yeah, but I didn't remember that guy got caught. Wow. He was so
Yeah,
lucky.
yeah,
He was so
that was
lucky.
that was astounding. And you know, the guy, and then but it was just like a slap on the wrist, you know, get rid of the drugs, then you can continue. You know, we're not going to take you to jail or shoot you or anything.
Uh-huh.
So,
Wow. Oh, boy, wow,
yeah,
that's
Polly, they went to Goa, right? Did you ever see him after that?
no, I never saw
Mike
them
and
after
Paul?
that. Nope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, I even gave them my surfboard. Remember at the to go to Goa. I thought I was going to meet them down there, but I never went down there.
Oh, that's right. They took your board, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? I carried mine with me, and I took it to Hardware, and then I brought it back, and I got the surfboard back to California. It arrived a few days after me because it got mistransported in the air flight. But anyway, I took it to Hawaii, and it was a useless board. It was useless for Hawaii. You know, I carried it half the world, in other words. And after being in Hawaii for a week, I thought, no, I can't ride this here. I have to get a you know, more board that works. I mean,
Yeah.
because the waves are so there, and California style, you know, sort of round-ended boards just don't work in those big waves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
wow.
So I remember crossing the border. We took a train overnight, and then we went to the train station, and we heard that the Sikhs, you know, that there was a real famous temple in Delhi that we could stay there. So I remember going to the temple, right, and then we said, you know, can we stay here? And they said no, but there's a festival going on down the block at the Ram Leela grounds, and we can stay there.
Yeah,
you remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah,
Uh,
that
and
was remarkable. I mean, we hooked up with Guru Maharaji within 24 hours, I think, of arriving in New Delhi, and
yeah,
that festival happened to be going on. They were waiting for us there, you know,
uh-huh,
and they were. You know, it turns out when we got up to Hardware, we realized there were all these guys from New York. I mean, there was about 100 of them, I think, New Yorkers that were attending the same festival, and that,
yeah,
you know, some of them to Hardware and stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, that was remarkable. And you know, I was I remember I was just wandering around the festival, but you were the one who hooked up right away, you know, with somebody on the Guru's team or whatever, I don't know. And you realize, hey, yeah, we can follow this guy back to Hardware tomorrow or the next day or whatever, and this will be good. You know, you know, you were the one who had the idea of you wanted to learn meditation, and
Uh-huh,
I was along for the ride. You know,
yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, I was just being, you know, led along by, you know, I just might as well have been a dog on a leash, you know. But it was obviously a big helping hand to me in my life, you know, to
Uh-huh.
the knowledge and clean out my head really is what it amounted to. With the I remember reading one thing that you wrote on Facebook about how our ego gets in the way more than not, and that really the task of I don't know, like being freeing ourselves is just freeing ourselves from the burden of our mind just talking to us all the time and just going crazy. You know, we have to get beyond that to a place where it's quiet, and then you can begin to unchain your ego and see what goes outside of yourself, you know. And it is hard. Your ego gets in the way every time, you know.
Yeah.
That's why as a single person, I think to meditate, you know, you need to be in a group where there's a lot of mutual energy, and they're reminding you all the time of what you're striving for, you know.
Yeah. Here's a story of synchronicity. So today, right now, I'm talking to you at 3 o'clock today. I'm talking to a guy named Guy Nori. Guy Nori was the very first person, you know, that we met in India at Hans Gianti. So that's so I'm going to interview him, you know, about about meeting him at Hans Gianti, and then a year later he's an architect. So I'm gonna go over, you know, with his stories. But isn't that kind of amazing? This is kind of synchronicity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll send you a picture. Yesterday I saw on Facebook this incredible picture of the Hans Gianti Festival, and there's that remember we were sitting on that stage and there's a sea of people. I'll send you I'll send you a picture on that today. You know, just
Oh, that'd be neat. Yeah, I'd love to see it. All right.
So yeah, so then I remember taking the the train, you know, to Hardwar, and then you were there, I think, in the ashram for I think over a month, right? Because you left.
Yeah, I think I counted 40 days worth, and then I got sick. I was because of I was drinking the water, and I got a like a dysentery, amoebic dysentery, you know. So I was started having really bad diarrhea, and when I left, I was quite sick. I had to spend a week in Delhi, and I remember it was a horrible week for me because of the, you know, ongoing stomach problems or whatever.
Oh wow! Wow.
You know, I endured. I was, you know, when you're like have a blissful mindset, it's like nothing can stop you. You know, you just go on, and it's like it just, you know, doesn't matter somehow. So I can, but anyway, it was a bit of an inconvenience to say the least. And you were going on to Calcutta, and I just didn't have the courage to do that. You know, I guess I started feeling a little bit wayward and just wanting to go back home or get something familiar.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then also I didn't have any money at all, and that was frightening. I guess that was part of it.
Yeah. Well, that was so cool. I could help
you. Did help me at that point. I remember you did help me, and so I made it back to Delhi. And I don't know if I told you, but when I got to Delhi, there was a letter from my mom at the New Delhi post office, you know, to the CPO, or you know, and in that letter, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, there was a cashier's check for $200 that my mom sent me, you know.
Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, wow. Oh.
I was able to use that money to buy an airplane ticket I got to London, and then I was able to connect on this Air France. I had a round trip Air France ticket from Paris. I think I didn't go to London. I got off in Paris, and my service went on to London or whatever. But anyway, So yeah, I did get a little money from my mom, and that got me back, and I ended up getting back to California, no trouble, just a couple
Uh-huh.
airplane flights,
So,
you
I
know.
think you were in the same knowledge session as I was, weren't you?
I was, yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I wondered, because I remember they told us you shouldn't talk about this with other people because they'll be confused, and it's better that you don't talk about this. And I was surprised when I saw some of the things that you had posted and you were talking about it and stuff. But I think your level of consciousness or understanding must be a lot higher than mine ever was. So I don't know, but I do remember that. Yeah, it was a remarkable afternoon experience.
Uh-huh. I remember that the guy was Mahatma Guru Charanand. Yeah, that was the guy who was our initiator, who revealed a knowledge. So what you experience in that? Was there anything out of the ordinary? I'm one of those who I like to hear people's experiences. I don't, back then I don't know why they say don't talk about it, because I think I I well, for me,
Yeah.
I love to hear people's experience.
When I try and meditate myself and I trying to see the light or hear the, whatever, it's pretty hard really to zone in to something. But in that knowledge session, as soon as the guru put his hands on my face, I just boing, and then, with the sound or whatever, or something that instantly I heard what, and I knew what he was talking about.
Uh-huh.
And almost almost as if it was transmitted by touch, or just willpower of the teacher. So anyway, yeah, that was an interesting time, and yeah, quite a.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
I still remember, after meditating for an hour, after that knowledge session, we'd practice every day, right? And I'd
Yeah.
go outside, and I was just felt so in touch with everything.
Uh-huh.
I remember thinking at that time, yeah, science is okay. I'll really be okay if I, go back to school and just concentrate. I was already ahead of myself in that, and I remember I used to go, and I don't think you ever did. I used to leave the ashram and go right across the street and sip tea in the late morning. I might have done that once or twice a day, and I always felt like a little bit of a truant juvenile leaving school before it's finished, before 2:30, going across the street and sipping tea.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, and you were a picture of devotion the whole time that in that month following,
Yeah,
you were always sitting.
that experience that I had was, even to this day, that was probably the most profound experience I ever had. No doubt about
Sure,
it. And
I understand what you mean. Yeah.
yeah, you know, and yeah. So yeah, what do I say about that? So that even and so years ago, so it would take me, let's say, like an hour, to get in that state of meditation, and now it's like, I'm automatically there, and yet it's still the beginning stages. That we could probably meditate for 1 trillion years, and it's still just a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
Do you remember any people's names, back then? Any people that you remember?
Outside of Charlie, who you had to remind me. Not really. From the ashram, you mean?
Yeah, from the
No, I don't think I really like made a lot of friends or anything.
uh-huh.
I really don't. I remember we used to sit around and they served us some sort of gruel, rice and something else mixed in, and we'd eat with our hands off of some bamboo leaf or
Yeah.
something, and
Uh-huh.
that, that was pretty remarkable. And
What was
yes,
was kind of remarkable at that time? Raji was only 13 years old. That was kind of something,
oh,
huh?
I know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I still remember some of the nights when he would come into the temple and sit with the group, and
Uh-huh.
that was very amazing. I don't know, just amazing kid,
Uh-huh.
just
Yeah.
a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And
Just
what's Guru Maharaji doing these days anyway? Do you know?
he is still traveling around the world. He's probably on the road, probably about 250 days out of the year. He has 680 prison programs around the world. So he's really into uh, uh, having prisoners, who's some of them are there for the rest of their lives, just help them to discover a peace inside themselves. So and
Wow.
he has foundations like in Africa and India, for feeding, like communities. So he's real big into helping humanity. So and
Wow, that's wonderful.
and in Europe, the European Parliament pronounced him to be the peace ambassador. So he goes to countries like Sri Lanka, where they've had revolutions, for the past 20 years, and he establishes a dialogues, between all the participants on both sides. It's got to kind of help them, to see that there can be a peaceful solution. And in Colombia, he helps with the prison gangs, and the major gangs in Colombia, to stop fighting. So he's having gang members who come out of the prisons, to just they go out, to fellow gang members and said, we can stop. We don't we don't need to do this. So he's helping at many different levels. So which is real nice to see. uh,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
so
that's wonderful. I didn't know.
uh-huh. So how old you when you started your going to medical school? What year was that?
All right. Well, after India, I went to Hawaii, and I was living there. I lived there for about a year, and then after a year, I entered college. And I had a few college credits from California from before. I had attended college in San Diego. Um, I went to Cal Western University, it's a good surf school, you
Oh,
know.
Cal Western. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah, I was there for like 3/4 of a year.
Uh-huh.
So, but anyway, I was able to graduate in 3 years, and then I spent a year at the University of Hawaii. I was studying biochemistry. That was going to be my alternate career if I couldn't get into medical school, and I wasn't able to get in medical school in Hawaii. But one of the teachers there, he said, "Yeah, I should investigate either the Philippines or South Korea." And so happens I had a friend, a Baha'i friend actually, who was working for the army. He got a job as a teacher in Seoul, Korea, and so I went over. I went over to Seoul, Korea, to stay with my friend, and I had a chance to look at the schools, and I met a couple of Americans that were studying there. So, gee, I don't know, that might have been 1975 or so. And I graduated. Ended up going to medical school in South Korea, and I graduated in 1981. And then after that, came back to the U.S. and I did an internship and residency in 1 year in Pennsylvania, and then 5 years in Michigan. I
Oh, wow. Wow.
trained.
Wow.
Yeah, I trained in internal medicine and pediatrics, and I
Uh-huh.
became, I passed the boards in both fields, and I'm still considered a grandfather of internal medicine because I took the board exams before they instituted this recertification every 7 years. Nowadays, if you become a pediatrician or any specialty, an internist, you take your board exam and you pass it fine. But after 5, 6, or 7 years, you have to take another exam and recertify, it's called. But in my case, they didn't have that system in internal medicine, so I theoretically I could go back and start working again, with my the be based on the fact that I have that important degree
Yeah.
or whatever. So it's funny. There's so many foreign doctors in the U.S. that it didn't seem to matter after I graduated. The fact that I didn't go to school in the U.S. I studied in South Korea.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt me that much, but it hurt some. I wasn't able to get as good a job maybe that I might have otherwise.
What do you think about, since you study, biochemistry? I've been kind of into that on my own personal level. I've been saying that all of us, we are our own a master chemist. Some of us, are lousy at it in terms of, for example, anytime a person gets angry, automatically, the system, shoots adrenaline and stress hormones
Yeah, right.
into the body. And in America, most Americans don't know how to shut off adrenaline, that the stress hormone.
Right.
So what's
Right.
your feel on that, in terms of, because I think, if people stop, look, and listen. So let's say if you get angry,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, if you hesitate just for a second, you can stop the actions, that you are about to perform. So because Buddha says, drinking your own, by getting angry, you're drinking your own poison. So I kind of want to get, since you study chemistry, what's your feeling on that?
Oh, right. You're kind of talking about the happy hormones, and the ones that kind of how would I say, they work on our day-to-day lives. And if you look at how adrenaline works in the animal world, how it works in monkeys, adrenaline is what happens when you feel threatened.
Yeah.
And we have this kind of alarm system in our bodies. We, like with cortisone, the cortisol level in our blood goes up, and we become paranoid, and then we start looking around for what's bugging us. There's something going on, and we're not comfortable, and that's what cortisol does. And then adrenaline is like when you do see a threat, and then finally, the endorphins when you actually get bitten. Those are all kind of like feeling hormones. But there's the happy hormones are like serotonin and
melatonin.
and dopamine is the feeling you get, and this is animal stuff, right?
Yeah.
When the animal wakes up in the morning and they see food, they see what they can get, and oh wow, I can do that, and it's a kind of a good feeling, and then serotonin is released when the animal or the person feels that, yeah, this is life and I'm on top of it. It's like Donald Trump in action must have really high serotonin levels because he's just right in his element. He feels like he's in control. He's the boss. it's all good. It's all for me. This is me. And on the other hand, if you're not able, like, like say the monkey, there's a group of monkeys and one banana, and the little monkey, he sees the banana, he's afraid, so he gets his cortisol levels are boosted way up. And if he reaches out, the other monkey bites him, and that biting monkey, he's the alpha monkey, he's the in control. He's got the happy hormones working, and the poor frightened monkey has got his cortisol levels getting out of control. And yeah, I think it's a cycle of misery that most people live in, because they
Yeah.
feel agitated, but they don't really know what's what. Oh, oxytocin is the other one. Is the feeling in the animal of you're in the herd. It's like you're with the group and you're accepted. There's no threat at all. You're just right there. Everything's fine around you. You've got there are wild monsters outside of the herd, and they're attacking the little ones, but you're in the middle of the herd, nothing to worry about. And I
Hmm.
think that's what people are lacking. Is that kind of sense of belonging, which they're part of the herd, and the sense of they're in control. It's more about depression and woe and gloom, and more about cortisol and adrenaline.
Yeah.
It's not really a good way to live, to be frightened all the time or to be reactive all the time.
Hmm.
It's it's suffering, really.
Yeah.
Mostly.
I've been studying this for just for my own hobby for about uh, 10 years. Seeing the effects of meditation, and how just by monitoring our actions, we can stop these harmful effects that cause havoc on the body. There's two guys I've been kind of looking at. There's a guy named Joe Dispenza, and another guy named is Bruce Lipton. And Bruce Lipton was probably similar to you. He studied biochemistry as a young student, as a lab assistant in the 60s. So uh, the this is where I get the concept where people, they can learn how to control their own inner chemistry. And I think the world would be in a better place if we did that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's we are kind of out of control, and people don't even realize what they're eating anymore.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
I really am a bit concerned about processed foods and that. It's eating some Oreo cookies isn't going to kill you, right? But don't eat them every day, please. Be a little bit more reasonable about the way what you put in your bodies and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I became interested in biochemistry initially because and back in the day, all of my friends were vegetarians, and they were all interested in nutrition and stuff. And so I just started looking at that, and protein and carbohydrates and fat, and
Hmm.
it's it's very important. It's basic knowledge for living. But when it comes to people who are fat, and as a doctor or clinician, it's very hard to help people with that problem. It's really difficult. Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
Have you ever got into uh, like different brainwave states? I know scientists in the last 20 years have studied, like from beta to alpha to uh,
Yeah.
and delta. In terms of one thing that I'm learning is how to program, my subconscious, and to rewire the brain. Most people think that you can't rewire your nervous system, but in the last 10 years especially, scientists have proven that we can rewire our circuits. So if
Right.
I'm that's one thing. That's kind of like my passion has been in the last 10 years is to see the latest scientific research on how we can improve the human condition.
Yeah, there's this guy I saw on a program on TV. He's a child prodigy, a musical prodigy, a blind guy, a kid who was born blind. Same story as Stevie Wonder. He was born like he was way premature, 24 weeks. He weighed less than 2 pounds, and he got the retinopathy of prematurity and was blinded, but he became a musician, and he's a remarkable kid who he can hear something and play it right back, so anyway, he's well known, and some medical type doing research, they studied his MRI. It's like a live image. What do they call it? Three-dimensional MRI, where they put him in the MRI scanner, and they gave him a little keyboard, and they studied his MRI images. They're colored images. It's like a virtual time MRI or something. While they recorded his brain waves, his picture of what's happening up in his brain, when he was just listening to somebody talk, and he kind of listened and he'd get bored, and there was not very much activity. But once he started playing on his keyboard, his whole brain lit up, and it was like even the part of his visual cortex, which is in the back of the brain, you know that, right?
Yeah.
Where he's blind, he doesn't, and usually there's no activity there. But when he played on the keyboard, the whole occipital cortex lit up like it was nothing, man. It was amazing. And you should check this guy out. His name is Matthew Whitaker.
Guess what, Peter? I saw this last Sunday on 60 Minutes. They did an episode on him.
Yeah, that one. That was the one. I guess I saw the same program.
Yeah. That's amazing, wasn't it? Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you saw it. I wasn't able to relay but yeah, it was amazing.
So it's kind of amazing that both of us, are kind of interested in the scientific and the medical, biochemistry. To be honest, I've never studied it like you have. I don't have a degree, but I've always been fascinated by that, because for me, I think science and spirituality is talking about the same thing, but in a different form. And
yeah,
and I see,
I agree.
And I see, science is really, like the right now I'm writing a book called the Physics of Spirituality, and in that, so I have a friend of mine, my brother's business partner. He studied quantum mechanics for 50 years, and also he loves to meditate, and he knows people, scientists all around the world. So he's going to get me in contact with them, or we're going to have discussions, similar to like this, talking about the quantum field and how it affects us in our everyday life. So
yeah, I've always admired the gods of physics, Einstein, and you can name a bunch of them,
David Bohm, yeah,
Isaac Newton, and they were the leaders in thought of humanity. They took us, a lot farther than we ever could have imagined or gotten on our own.
I'll send you this link to this one video. It's David Bohm. He's a real famous physicist in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and Krishna Murti, who was a real famous Indian mystic.
Yeah, I remember him. I think I must have read one or two of his books anyway.
Now, what was funny about this is that David's wife read a couple of Krishnamurti's books, and one day, she kind of she went to her husband and says, "Hey, David, this guy's talking about the same thing you are, the observer and the observed." He says, "But he's going inward, and you're going outward. But both of you are doing the same exact thing." So make a long story short, David hooks up with Krishnamurti, and they have a 25-year-old discussion about the mystic and the scientist. So David's a version totally changed through these dialogues. And David Bohm became an advisor a spiritual advisor to the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama says, whenever science proves something that contradicts, what I believe in, I'm going with science. So, I'm going with logic. So, I kind of like that.
Oh yeah, yeah, me too. I'm certainly pretty much harmonious with your views on that subject. I think it's science and religion. Baha'is say that all the time. Science and religion should agree in principle on everything. Really,
Yeah.
You can't really religious law if it doesn't jive with science. I don't know.
So here's a question for you. The light that we see, inside of us, I'm beginning to think now that it's not spiritual, but that's the quantum field. That's because imagine this. So the quantum field exists, throughout time and space. It's beyond time and space. It's beyond all dimensions.
Yeah.
Beyond, they say the universe is 10 to the 28th power. That's how many universes there are. So I don't think, that heaven, that realm, that divine light, for me, it's part and parcel of the quantum field. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I never really thought of it before, but now that you said it, I think, yeah, that's got to make sense. If you like, I've heard this. I don't know where I think I used to watch these physics programs, about but they say that if you get out into outer space, that the universe is not quiet. You think it's just totally quiet out in space, right? But no, there's a kind of a buzzing sound, a humming sound, and I guess it's the vibration or some sort of vibration. And yeah, that makes perfect sense when we look inside ourselves. That's what we're seeing. It does make sense to me,
Yeah.
I really love it. I mean, I didn't really think, well, where does the light come from or what is it? I'm not that deep, I guess, but obviously you've thought of it, and that's pretty brilliant what you came up with there,
And even listening to the inner sounds, for me, that's the same sounds that
right. It's a sound. It's a sound that's it's out there and it's all around us. But I think the sounds that we hear in our external ears in the world around us, they kind of drown it out, But if you're quiet, like if you go to a crater and where there's no sound at all, and then you start to hear it, Even just walking along, you can hear something, Because there's no other sound of anything except your footsteps to distract you, or maybe your heart beating,
and so that, and the same thing I thought. So when I meditate on my breath, my concept is behind my breath is the same energy, the same breath that's keeping the universe alive. Just think, in the Vedas, they say the breath of Brahma is 12 billion years for it to breathe in and 12 billion years to breathe out. So that same, and scientists begin to think that they think that the whole universe is breathing. So my take is that, so when we go inside, we're actually, getting in touch with that force that is making the whole universe conscious and aware. So it isn't like let's say a heavenly kingdom, where the world is divided between the physical and the non-material. Basically it's almost one and the same. What do you think about that? Oh, oh, hello. What was I? Oh, I was asking about the breath. How does that sound? How does that sound to you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I just said really, yeah, with the breathing, I understand what you said about it's part of something bigger than ourselves,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and probably something that permeates the whole universe. But I don't, as to what that is that permeates the universe, I don't understand. I can't really relate to there being any motivating breathing power. But again, with the sound and the seeing and the hearing, yeah, I'm totally down with what you were saying before about it.
Yeah.
Being something bigger.
So yeah, we should. I guess we've been on for about an hour and 40, but we should continue this. I kind of want to delve into your brain, because you went to medical school. You've been a doctor, and I kind of like to bounce off ideas with you, because you're someone who you've been in that profession. So
Yeah, I would have never been able to do that without having knowledge and being, it gave me kind of a certain confidence and drive, and I knew that I could overcome my own learning difficulties or whatever. So, but I don't think I could have ever mustered mastered that or managed that challenge on my own. I felt like I had help in a way. And yeah, like I say, it was a rewarding career for all the grief and long hours and really not that great pay, but I got personally a lot out of that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm real proud of you, what you did. Wow, that was amazing. Because I don't know if I could really pull that off. That's yeah, what you did. Yeah, that's a lot. You sacrificed a lot. Wow, yeah, I'm amazed. That's great.
yeah, well, a lot of people are. They look at me and, hey, another hippie, cool. I mean, they sort of see me in that light, and they often are more easy to tune into the fact that I was once a hippie or that I liked Hendrix or something. But they go, wow, a doctor? And I think most people are genuinely impressed by that, because I see an unlikely, most doctors my age are still working, and, they're very dedicated. And I was never able to muster that same sort of dedication to keep me going to work every day. I got to a point where I wanted to surf again, and that became important to me.
Yeah. Well, too bad in the medical field they don't have
for my health and sanity.
Uh-huh. I think doctors need work-life balance, which they don't have. How about other countries? I wonder in Norway, I'm sure the doctors probably have work-life balance.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's more or less the same all over the world. I mean,
Uh,
during COVID, just see those poor Italian doctors suffering without proper, PPEs and stuff, and just I don't know. My hearts go out to them. I think most doctors, they're so dedicated that they work that extra day. They work that extra weekend day or something. Just they don't know any better than to just be dedicated and to go back to work and do what they do.
yeah.
And it's feeling. I mean, you go and you help the patients, and that becomes a reward in itself. Just to go to work and then to have people that are grateful, and that they appreciate your service and blah blah blah. You do get that nice strokes from people. So I guess that is one thing. But yeah, it's no life if you want to be a surfer. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. All right. Well, I guess we've been in here about hour 44.
Yeah.
Let's let's
Okay. Well,
let's do this again sometime, and I'll send you those two links in Messenger for that one video, which you may find interesting, and I'll send you that picture of Hans Giante.
right. I still I wonder if you had a friend or a brother, I think your brother who was able to Zoom on Apple, and you were gonna help me get my Apple device running, because I think I have an icon or something. I mean, I Messenger I can click in, but gee, I don't know. I think we had problem with the sound on the Apple.
Well,
This is this
I can
computer I'm
schedule
talking to you now.
I can schedule maybe a Zoom meeting between you, me, and my brother some point, and then I can have you. Oh,
It might help. I have to go to go back into the settings and to unblock a few things, and it's a bit of an insecure process to get the Zoom up and running. In fact, the software, is it a Guru Dev, has something to do with the Zoom software package? I was unclear.
what's that?
There was a software package, and it hadn't been installed yet, but it was from Guru Dev, and I wondered, is that something to do with Zoom? Is that part of maybe that's the
Oh, I'm not sure. Huh.
or something?
Not,
Anyway, yeah, maybe ask your brother about it. It can't be
yeah.
that hard to
No.
use Apple.
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't. But Zoom seems to be a pretty ubiquitous system. A lot of politicians seem to be using Zoom nowadays
oh,
for
oh,
their
yeah.
video meetings.
Yeah, most Fortune
So
500 companies use it, for their meetings. Yeah,
yeah, I had no idea.
uh-huh. Yeah.
I should be able to get the package running. I don't know. It's
Uh-huh.
maybe in Thailand has something to do with it. But anyway,
Yeah,
give it some. And any time for a meeting is okay.
okay.
With COVID-19, certainly not going anywhere.
Uh-huh.
I'll be
Yeah.
here.
All right. Hey, well, Peter, this has been a pleasure, and yeah, we'll definitely
Yeah.
stay in contact. I love our conversations. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, you can call anytime, really. I'm not doing much. I'm retired now, so
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. All right. Hey, well, have a wonderful day.
okay, yeah, you have a good day yourself.
Okay, talk to you
And
later.
get something to eat and go to bed.
Yeah, 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 right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. See you later. Okay,
All
bye.
right. Cheers. See you
Cheers.
later.
Uh-huh.
Bye-bye.
Bye.